Okay, so just to make you aware, we are recording today's session.
All right.
To post in case people want to come back later and do this professional development asynchronously.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Our topic for today is Google Classroom from LMS to LMYES. We want to make sure that we are maximizing our Google Classroom. So our learning targets for today, if you look at those, you're going to be focusing on strategies to maximize engagement, as well as organizing your Google Classroom to really get the most use out of it. And if you haven't had a chance, please join our Google Classroom with this join code. I have also put it in the chat. That way, we're going to be referring to it throughout the presentation, and it has several resources. So who are we? We are some blended learning coaches. My name is Beth Hoffman. I am a blended learning coach for Estes and the PEP campus there, Avery's Creek and Glenarden.
I'm Amanda Venturella, and I'm the blended learning coach at Owen Middle, Owen High, and Community High.
And what we have here is the definition of blended learning from Buncombe County Schools, and it's a combination of online active engaged learning with offline active engaged learning to provide students with elements of choice over the time, place, pace, and path of their educational experiences. So it's really about that combination and that balance of online and offline active engaged learning. So our focus for today are going to be 3 sections. We're going to talk about organization of our Google Classroom. We're going to talk about personalizing our Google Classroom. And we're going to talk about elements of interactivity, different programs that work well within Google Classroom to allow your students to be more interactive within their assignments. So I am going to stop sharing my screen so that way Amanda is able to start.
There's some pretty simple things you can do right now to make your Google Classroom a lot more user-friendly, a lot more engaging for your not only your students, but also for yourself. So the 2 things we're going to look at today are using topics and managing your notifications so that you're not drowning in emails from Google Classroom. One thing I did want to point out is that we're going to throw lots and lots of strategies at you today. And there's these are not things that we think every single person should be doing every single one of these things. But hopefully there will be a few of these tools that are takeaways for you today, something that you feel like would really improve your learning management system and your use of that system. So when we talk about organizing our assignments, there are many different schools of thought on the best way to organize it. But most people agree that using topics as sort of titles and containers, if you think of it that way, to hold your assignments and materials can make it much, much easier on students, particularly if they're looking to make up an assignment. It's much easier to find those things if they're under topics. So some people choose to organize their Google Classroom by week. So in the bottom left corner here, you'll see for week 13 and then the date. I think it's a good idea if you're going to do this to use dates. That is much easier for kids to wrap their brains around. Then this is the 13th week of the school year. And then all of the assignments for that week would go under that week, or any materials that you were using would all live there. I always did this by unit, and it didn't have a time period particularly tied to it. It was just everything that went under that unit lived in that container, that topic. Here we've got Unit 8, Rocks and Minerals. one thing I wish that our examples here showed, but you'll see it in our Google Classroom, is that what you do want to avoid is having one assignment per topic. That's really not what they're for. A topic, again, should just be like a header or a title, a container for lots of assignments and materials. That makes it easier for students to search, and that gives them a smaller area to search in rather than the entire stream in your Google Classroom. And lastly, organizing by subject is really more for lower grades, for for elementary school. I'll get there eventually. For elementary school teachers, because they might teach 2 subjects, ELA and social studies, and choose to combine those 2 subjects into one Google Classroom so their kids aren't trying to juggle 4 in the elementary schools, or even some teachers are still teaching 4 subjects, especially in 3rd grade. So they might have one Google Classroom for all 4 subjects. So they would use topics like ELA, social studies, math, and science. So I'm going to get out of present mode really quick and just show you in our Google Classroom, we have 4 topics. So when students try to find something in a classroom, most of them are kind of coming around to this idea of using this topics list on the left. So if I tell my students, well, this is from the organization unit, then if they click on the word organization, all the organization assignments and materials come up. And that makes it very easy for them to find what they're missing or what they need to work on next, or even today's assignment, if I'm using topics that way. And let me get back to classwork. Topics show up under classwork, and when you choose create and select topic, that's how you make one of those. And when you create new materials or assignments, in the bottom right hand corner, it asks you to choose a topic. And so that's how you organize you first create the topic, and then you house materials and things in there when you create a material or a new assignment, by choosing the topic that you want it to go with. Okay. Any questions about that, about using topics? Do you guys use them in your Google Classroom? How do you organize yours, Jamie?
So I do it by week. I teach math, so there's several things that we do. My classroom's set up to where I have 3 or 4 activities a day to keep it kind of moving. So I per week, like what you guys had, but underneath there I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then in Monday I have everything that they need for Monday, and in Tuesday everything they need for Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera.
So Monday would be an assignment, and then it would have everything they need to do for Monday there. That's a good. Yep. It's a good idea. And Captain Sullivan, do you do the same thing?
I don't necessarily break up by week. I break up by subject if I know that there's going to be more than one assignment, because the same thing, I don't want it one singular assignment in one topic. If I know there's going to be a couple of topics, I'll break it up. Like if I'm going to have a couple of topics having to do with the Revolutionary War, I'd put it under there. But the one topic that I always have is PT. What that allows is every Friday we do physical training, and it includes calisthenics, and that for the first half, and the second half is a workout, some sort of game we play. But if you're not there, basically the expectation is you would at least do the calisthenics. And so under PT will be the workout. It'll say PT workout and then the day. So it's the, whatever, it's the Friday of that PT workout. And I just post a different workout every Friday for those students that are absent. And they,
love it.
They just have to do it at home. And then I got to get a email or text from their parents saying that they completed the exercise.
Awesome. So one more thing to think about as you organize your assignments is that it's really nice to have a visual component for that. We don't always think about this for our secondary students, but they absolutely need it too. A lot of people like to use emojis to help highlight what topic they're using. So the, what's the word I'm looking for? The shortcut key for your emoji keyboard is to hold down your Windows key and press period. It brings up an emoji keyboard. But what I'd love for you guys to do is to drop an emoji in the chat, an emoji or two, using Windows period. So Windows period works in most Microsoft environments and most of the Google environments. Just about anything you're doing online, you're able to use Windows period. So in our first column, you see some emojis that are used that match the topics. And then in the center column, they match more like the visuals are more matched to what the activity is, what the students are being asked to do. So for example, there are a couple different ways to use this. You might use a video camera emoji to indicate this is going to be a video assignment, or you might use two emojis together, two little people, to show that it's a partner assignment, something they're expected to do in a group. So some people have like a little legend, if you will. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Students get it pretty quickly. The other piece of this is that another way that it helps to have the visual is that you can actually copy the title of your assignment and paste that into PowerTeacher Pro, and the emoji will live there too. The emoji will follow it. So then it looks exactly like it did in Google Classroom, which makes it easy. It just makes it a little easier for students to figure out if something's missing. This is what it is. It's got this little emoji in front of it. I also like to, and this is sort of off topic, but not really. A teacher last year taught me to, in the description of your assignment in PowerTeacher Pro, to actually link to the assignment in your Google Classroom. So students, if they open up an assignment they have a 0 for, they can click on the link and it takes them straight to Google Classroom. Here's the assignment you're missing. So there's just some easy organization pieces. Okay. So a couple of things you may not realize about some parameters that we have in Google Classroom. The bottom one is important, topics per class. We used to be limited to 100 topics. They've expanded that to 200, which is great for people. There are people who organize their topic by day. I like what you're doing better, Jamie, where you have it by week and then assignments by day. That seems like a little bit less crowded and cluttered.
Well, and you can also do I did like a template. So I had like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday set up with the weeks, and then I just pulled it into both of my classrooms before I started uploading it. So like it was already there, and it was literally like clicking on the Monday and putting it in it.
You kept a master class and just copied it over. That's genius. So the last thing I wanted to look at with you guys is managing your notifications. Notifications get out of hand so fast. A lot of people just turn theirs completely off, which is fine as if you're spending a lot of time in your Google Classroom. My suggestion is always just disable the things that aren't making life easier for you. The other thing that you can do is, and I've linked a document to show you how to do this within our Google Classroom, is you can create a filter in Gmail that will bypass your inbox and route all of your Google Classroom stuff into a folder. And you can make it each class's notifications go into their own folder, or you can just have one big Google Classroom folder that things go to, and then only check it when once a day, so that you're not seeing those things in your email constantly. So this is a little GIF that just shows you how you get to this settings. There are two places to do settings in Google Classroom. This one's the little 3-line menu on the left, and you scroll all the way down to settings. So I'm going to show you one other thing here that's important to do. And I went to the wrong one, of course. I literally just said it. Okay. I turn almost everything off, except I want to know that someone's done late work. The other piece that I have forgotten to do in the past is to turn off class notifications for classes that I'm not actively involved in. Sometimes if you're in a PLC, someone might ask you to be a co-teacher in their class so you can share resources that way, and then you're stuck getting notifications forever. But this is a really easy way to turn those off as well. Last thing I wanted to say about settings in here is I really like to turn off the classwork in the stream. How do you feel about that, Jamie? Do you keep all of your assignments in the stream, or do you just use it for discussion?
I don't use the stream to post my assignments. Like, they just know that they go to the classwork and click on the date. Because like that, the stream is going to hit them so much if I keep and stuff that they're just going to start ignoring me.
So it's a good idea to turn classwork off in the stream, and you do that under the little gear here under general, and choose classwork on the stream and hide those notifications. So again, that's just under the little gear right here. And then this can stay clean except if you want to make an announcement or pose a question, or more importantly, if a kid has a question and they post it here, other people are actually going to see it and you're going to respond to it, I think, a lot more quickly than if it's just buried in all of those assignments. I rarely see kids pause here because the stream can be so cluttered. Like you said, Jamie, I mostly see them go directly to classwork as soon as they open Google Classroom and take off from there. Okay, so our first task, if you would please go into our classwork and under organization, answer the emoji question. So it's right here. So under the organization section, and you'll see how I sort of gave you a visual cue to find it. This is a great support for ELL students. And so the last thing I was going to say about our organization piece, I put it here. I wasn't going to go very deep into this, but bell ringer slides. We often associate those with elementary. They're also very useful in secondary classes where you just have your agenda and your learning targets and maybe some links to resources. So these are some bell ringer slide templates that are free. That is another piece that I think is really, the stream is a good place for that. It's a good place for your bell ringer. And you can actually, if you save those slides as an image and post it here, it's just a really nice eye-catching way to start your day. Okay. Any questions there about organization or? Okay, great. So the next piece is personalization. So we want our LMS to reflect the kind of community that we're building in our physical classroom. It's not always easy, but it's really important to make this a space where students can sort of cultivate that growth mindset, where they feel seen, where they feel heard, and give them some ownership over their learning. So I don't know if you're aware, but you can customize your Google Classroom banner. I'm going to pull up a template and we're going to do one together digitally, even though there are only 4 of us, but that's fine. We'll all get to write our names really big. We'll all get the best spots. You'll notice that Beth and I have created a personalized banner for our Google Classroom. And this took me 30 seconds yesterday, Beth, would you say, maybe? Because I knew it was just temporary.
Probably not even that.
We're going to make a much better one today. So this is a template that's from a Google drawing. You can also make them in Google Slides, just have the correct dimensions, and add any kind of images and text and background colors that you want. Let's see, we're going to do this in Zoom. So in Zoom, in your tools, you have annotate, right? Do you guys know where to find that? Do you see that, Jim? There's like a little annotate tool.
Looking into Google Classroom?
In your Zoom toolbar.
It's up under view options on our end.
It's what?
Under the view options.
Under view options, yes, because I'm sharing so that mine looks different.
Okay, so under my view, I've got standard, side-by-side speakers, side-by-side gallery, swap video shared screen, and exit full screen.
Not the view. In like the middle, it'll say view. Like if you move your cursor to the middle of the screen towards the top,
Yep.
it's going to say view options.
Okay,
Drop that and it should say annotate.
got it. All right.
So what I would like for us to do, thank you, Jamie. What I would like for us to do is write our name on our banner and maybe do a little doodle or drawing of some sort. You can even do a stamp. If you look under stamp, you can get some little ready-made shapes there. But notice you can change your drawing tools. You can draw shapes. You can get fatter lines. You can change the color that you're going to use. But make it nice and big. Try to use a thick line, and that way we'll be able to see it when we make it our Google banner. Let's see, do I have like a highlighter? Ooh. Use my. So if you're using a touch screen, you can even use your finger.
Mm-hmm.
So grab a stamp.
While we're decorating, I love this aspect of really personalizing the Google Classroom, just because I feel like it definitely promotes student ownership of their learning in a very in an online space where they might not necessarily feel that connection to their classmates. So I think this is a really good way to promote that.
And you can see where if you had a lot, a big class, this would be, you could really fill this space up and make it look super nice.
You were supposed to go to tutoring today.
So if you guys can, Jamie and Jim, if you can put your names back up there, yeah. I'm actually going to use this to make our banner today. So Jim, I'll let you put your name back in. Okay. So I'm just going to screen grab this by doing Windows Shift S. So then I am, once I've screen captured my banner, I'm going to save that. I think I'll just put it on my desktop. And go under Customize in my classroom banner and upload the photo. I'm going to select a photo from my computer and open. And you'll have to drag your corners because your screenshot will be a little different from the exact dimensions of our banner. And once I've done that, it's going to pop up as our new class theme. So you can see how your students' signatures or doodles can show up there in our banner. But some other ideas for doing that are you can open it in CAMI and have students annotate there, or you can share a Google slide with the whole class, but that can get kind of messy because they put all kinds of things in. Or you can print it out on paper. This is one from professional development that I did earlier this year. So one application of this is to maybe have a little contest where maybe you've got a unit coming up and be an extension activity that students create or design a banner either digitally or offline, do it analog style. That could be then the class banner for just for the next unit. So that's kind of fun. Another piece of personalization is avatars, having avatars for profile pictures. A lot of students are not comfortable using their own photo for their profile pictures in Google. So there are lots of places to go out and make a little avatar. Bitmoji is the one all teachers are using, but since that's linked to Snapchat, students aren't really able to access that through school. So I added a couple here and I put more in the Google Classroom to give some ways for students to make something that's Bitmoji-like that they feel good about. I think it's really important to let students represent themselves the way they want to be seen. So if you make these, students are able to, you can always save it as a picture and then they know how to lay a text layer on top that puts their name on their little Bitmoji-like avatar. And then you're able to use it in a variety of ways. For example, in a Jamboard, if all the students have sent you their avatar, then you're able to save those, put them all in a Jamboard, and you can students can drag theirs if you're doing a this or that type activity. And in the lower grades, if students want to, a lot of times their morning work is to come in and drag themselves to the present side or to the school lunch, which school lunch they want. So there are lots of applications for that as well. But the best thing about it is that it does give students a way to present themselves the way they want to be seen by their peers and the way they feel best represents themselves. So I'm going to stop sharing so that Beth can take this next part. Moving on to interactivity.
There we go. All right, so our final section happens all the time, is the interactivity piece. So it's going to be we're going to be talking about different programs that integrate really well with Google Classroom that also promote student interactivity with their assignments. So the first program we're going to be going over, I think about 4, is CAMI. So CAMI is a PDF. It's a program where you can upload like a PDF or any other document or template, and you can alter it with drawing tools. It does have some read aloud options. So it really does allow students to highlight, underline, be really interactive with their assignment. And so when creating an assignment within Google Classroom, there is an option for a CAMI assignment specifically. So if you click on that option when you're creating it, it will allow you to enable that feature, and it will open in CAMI for your students. So that way they have that toolbar and they can use all the features of CAMI on their assignment. Are there any questions about CAMI? So our next interactive program would be a Google Jamboard. And a Jamboard is a really good place for collaboration. So you can, and it's just like an assignment in your Drive. And so anytime you create a Google Jamboard and you want to upload it as an assignment, you would just upload it by clicking on your Drive and finding the file. So it's not anything different per se, but you can upload it. You can make a copy for each student. So that way, if you want them to each have their own copy and have the features of Google Jamboard, but without having every single person on the same piece. That is one way to do it. Or you can keep it the same, utilize the features of Jamboard and that collaboration, and you can use it for whole group or small group instruction. So our next program that we're going to talk about is screencastify, and we're going to talk about two different sections of screencastify. So screencastify as a teacher, all right? So you can insert a screencastify video into an assignment. In order to screencast, you will have to have enabled the shortcut in your toolbar, which if you haven't done that already, you can just Google screencastify and it will take you to their homepage, and there's a big pop-up window on the front that says add it to my extensions. So thank you. I was missing the word. So you're going to have it added into your extension. So once you have added it to your extension, all you have to do is click on that little like puzzle piece in the top corner, and your screencastify toolbar will pop up. So you can choose how you want to record, whether you want it to be a webcam, a screen only, or your face only. And when you're done recording, there will be an option to upload it into Google Classroom. So that will be a way for you to upload an instruction video, or maybe you explaining a particular topic into an assignment. And so when you click on that Google Classroom icon that pops up in the toolbar when you're done screencasting, it takes you through the steps of creating like you would any other assignment. You just have to pick your class that you want to share it to first, so if you have multiple classes. And then it populates and attaches into a traditional Google Classroom assignment. Now, students can also use screencastify. So students have the option to use what's called screencastify submit. And you can create an assignment with screencastify submit with your extension as well. So if you click on your extension and you click on the 3 lines, there will be a drop-down menu and there will be a submit option. When you click on that, this is the screen that you will get. And so you're going to make sure you're in the submit section. And what it is it allows you to create an activity for students to use screencastify as their method of response. And so when you want to create an assignment, you would just click new assignment. And then it would, there's going to be a pop-up window that allows you to choose Google Classroom. And then it's going to ask you to choose, just like you would as a teacher, choose how you want to record. So it's going to ask you to choose how you want your students to record. If you want your students to only show their screen, if you want your students only to show their face, or if you want your students to have the embedded webcam where it's both. And that sets up that feature for them already. And then you would, it goes through the steps of creating an assignment, just like you would in Google Classroom. You name it, you give it instructions, and then you select the type of activity that you want it to be. And it just goes through the steps. We tried to make a video. For some reason, this was the only one that was not happy that day. So, but it goes through the same steps or features as if you were embedding a regular screencastify video. So this allows your students to interact using screencastify.
And all the GIFs that we made for this presentation were made in screencastify. You can export any video, usually under 30 seconds, as a GIF. Just not this video, right, Beth?
For some reason, this one video was not working that day. So, so our last interactive platform that we're going to talk about is Flipgrid. So Flipgrid is a program that also connects well with Google Classroom. The key features of Flipgrid, though, is that you need to create a group, which is essentially your class first. And you can import your roster from Google Classroom when you're creating your group by clicking the Google Classroom icon at the bottom, and it will automatically populate your roster. So it has created your class. Once you've created your class or your group, then you can create your topic or your activity. and you can assign that activity in Google Classroom, or that topic within Google Classroom. When you're creating your topic, you follow the steps of what you would do in Flipgrid. And there is, once you save your topic, there's a pop-up window and you have the Google Classroom icon, which will then prompt you to, again, go through those same steps of selecting which class you'd like to assign it to, type of assignment, you want it to be a question or an announcement or an assignment, and then it will attach it within that format for students to be able to respond using Flipgrid. So I know that was a lot of information about different programs. Are there any questions?
I have two questions.
Yeah.
First is, in order to use Google Jamboard, what do I just Google Jamboard and then load that program? Or is that a program that we have access to directly from our Google Classroom?
That is something that you can create within Google, within your Drive. And so think of Jamboard as just like slides or a Google Doc. When you go to create and you click new, and Amanda, please jump in because I know that you you love some
Okay,
Google
do
Jamboard.
You want me to share my screen and show him really quickly while you're talking?
Absolutely.
So anytime you're in a Google application, you have the little 9-dot menu. My students always called it the waffle.
Okay.
Jamboard is here.
Oh, so it's all right. It's one of the choices in there. Okay. All right.
It stores the slides in your Google Drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my follow-on question is, understand what Jamboard would be used for. I understand what screencastify could be used for. I'm not sure I understand what Flipgrid?
Flipgrid.
What I would use that for.
So Flipgrid is a platform for students to be able to record themselves and respond.
Which is different from Screencastify, and that Screencastify is just me filming myself for them.
So Screencastify for you is you recording yourself, and you can insert that video
Right.
as a resource within your
Right.
assignment. Screencastify Submit is that student feature, is that student assignment. So you would create an assignment within that that allows your students to submit a screencast. Now, Flipgrid also records, but it does have some special features that Screencast Submit does not.
And it keeps all of their videos together in one spot. Like you pose a question and all the kids can record themselves saying their response to the question. And you can turn on comments so they can comment on each other's videos, or you can make the videos private, but all those videos are stored in one spot. So you can just sort of quickly scroll through them.
Okay.
And you can set a limit on, they can only be 30 seconds or they can be 3 minutes, depending on how much you're willing to watch for that particular assignment.
Okay.
And
Captain, I used it last year for my student council, my leadership class. They posted their final exam, which was a pitch for what they were presenting for me. They had to pitch the topic to me, and then required was that students had to make comments on each other's, so that both parts went into their final exam, so they could see everybody's within that final exam Flipgrid to then make comments about it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure I have anything in my curriculum that would lend itself to that, but I do have something as far as the Screencastify, as far as rather than having their parents send an email or text that they completed their PT, they could certainly film themselves doing the PT, which I would watch.
And
Absolutely,
Flipgrid's a little easier to film themselves, honestly, than Screencastify, because Flipgrid's just, you could make the topic, PT and the date, and it will be organized for you, and students could film themselves doing it.
Okay.
And that's what this next section of our presentation is about, is some work time. So we wanted to give you, and looking at our clock, maybe about 10 minutes,
Yeah.
just to explore In our Google Classroom, we do have an assignment in that interactivity topic for each of those platforms. And it allows you to experience those as a student. Let me share my screen. Sorry. So in the interactivity piece, there's an assignment for each program, and it's asking you to use the program in some way, or asking you to think as an educator, how would you use this program? How would you want to incorporate this into a future assignment?